What's up, cool kids? FD White back with a exclusive interview. I'm just gonna pass it right away because I know they've been doing a lot of interviews. So I'm gonna pass it to him. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, his company, and then I got a good 5 or 6 questions that I really want to deep dive about. So I'm gonna let him give his introduction. I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
We were supposed to meet yesterday.
It's okay.
Things got a little bit crazy. You gotta be
flexible
in these places. So please introduce yourself to my community. Let them know where you're from,
Absolutely.
your name, and what you guys are trying to build.
Hey, folks. My name is Chris Klein. I'm the co-founder and COO of Bitcoin IRA. We've been around since 2016, helping Americans retire with crypto and Bitcoin in their retirement savings. We believe that we have a retirement crisis on our hands, and having accessibility to these coins gives you, when those coins moon for you, all the stuff you're looking at technicals, if you could have it in a tax-deferred, tax-free setting, makes it a world of difference. You can put $7,500 into an IRA this year and save almost $3.5 million on taxes if you get to a $10 million mark on Bitcoin, which a lot of us believe in.
Yeah, definitely believe in that. And when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto taxes and just different things like that, it's kind of like a lot of people in crypto, if you talk to them, they haven't really explored that in going down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
And that's really one of the things that a lot of people, especially if you're making big money,
Yep.
you really want to get all these things together. You want to have, you don't want to owe Uncle Sam. You want to have all these things together. So what are some of the basic reasons why you guys started this company? Were you already in the space and you pivoted to crypto, or how did that go?
We were already in the retirement space,
Yeah.
specializing in other alternatives. So there was years where the gold and silver had its heyday in 2011, 2012 from the last crisis. We've done real estate in IRAs, LLCs in IRAs. It's crazy the things you can actually put in an IRA that people don't think about. We have a guy that actually from Kentucky that buys John Deere tractors with his IRA and then leases them out to farmers and gets that passive income in a tax-free setting and is able to depreciate down the vehicle, the actual tractor itself from its capex. So many tools. So we were very deep into the retirement space and decided, you know what? Somebody came across our desk and said, and it was actually the former director of the U.S. Mint, Ed Moy. We were working with him, and he said, if you guys figure out how to put Bitcoin in one of these things, I'd like to be the first guy that does it. So sure enough, we went to work, took about a year, put all the pieces together, and I didn't know Bitcoin at the time. So I had to go down that orange pill rabbit hole and learn everything and really understand it. And I fell in love. 2 reasons I fell in love. Having, that's a big one for me. The fact that, because look at what we're dealing with today. I mean, I was born in 1985, and the monetary supply is just exponential, and it's going to just keep going. They're going to have to print themselves out of this next crisis, and it's not just us, it's the whole world, it's everybody. So that was a big one for me. And then the second was this ability to move money and payments without so many middlemen involved. Now, the early crypto guys were all about, let's take down Wall Street, kill the banks, but look at where we're at today. I've seen more Charles Schwab and Morgan Stanley looking guys than I've ever seen at these things. I joked about this yesterday. It's like we swiped right and we fell in love with each other finally.
So it's funny that you say that. I tell my community this has been more of an institutional-led rally or institutional cycle.
Yep.
We thought the last cycle was going to be institutional. It's really been this cycle. So with you and your company and with the institutions coming in, I would think that would do wonders for what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I think the retail the FOMO hasn't hit yet. Yeah. I was actually joking yesterday because we're in Vegas and Ocean's 13. You remember when they had that big drill and they were trying to make the earthquake to get everybody to leave.
Yep.
And the first one, it didn't. Nobody left, and they're like, all right, hit them harder. I kind of feel that way about the pricing right now. We're banging on 110, 112, but the retail buyer's just not here yet. I think 130, 135 is a sweet spot, just psychological. It maybe has nothing to do with technicals, but just knowing people. I mean, I've interacted with people, so many of them over my career, that feels like that's a level where we're going to start seeing. And that could take us to, I was on Yahoo Finance last month. My target's 180 this year for Bitcoin. Okay. And I think that FOMO that kicks in, you've got the institutions. Also, a lot of these institutions, they are posturing that they're going to do these things. Yeah. Some, likely the GameStop might have already bought and then announced because they did a small enough number. But you've got all these nation states this race to reserve. Have they started buying? They're not going to tell us when they're going to start buying because that'll affect the price. They want to try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as cheap as they can because big institutions have impacts like that. So smart retail guys are not waiting until the institutions are done. Get in now, because when they're finished and everything's aggregated, we're going to, 19.5 million Bitcoin have already been accounted for, not much left out there. This is where we're going to see scarcity for the first time in our lives. We didn't grow up with scarcity.
Yeah.
Our grandparents did, our great-grandparents did. They know what the Depression felt like.
Yes, sir.
This is a scarcity moment, but it's a beautiful scarcity because you can hold on to something that's so scarce versus, I mean, probably in the time we started this interview, they probably printed $10 million worth of US dollars in just a few minutes.
Yeah, so Federal Reserve is doing a lot of stealth QE right now.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So it's not as abundant and it's not as materialized out in the open as like a 2020, you know, or even a 2008 financial crisis when they had to bail out.
Yep.
It's stealth QE.
The checks aren't going directly to you and me.
Exactly.
But they're going somewhere.
They're going somewhere.
Absolutely.
And even with the bank term funding program, that was a form of QE as well when the bank started to collapse. You know, Silicon
lipstick on a pig.
Lipstick on a pig. Exactly. So I do have a question about age range. So with the IRA, you have a certain, like, younger people, a lot of people not really thinking about retirement. They're not really thinking about, like, later down the line.
Yep.
So with the older crowd, I'm not sure what your age range is or what your median age range is. With that crowd, is it harder to bring them on to Bitcoin? Because even though this is a big space and we're here, a lot of people still cannot wrap their head around Bitcoin or crypto. And when it comes to, like I said, the older, not even boomers, but even some millennials, you know, like us.
Exactly.
It's still a little hard for them to wrap their head around it. So how do you pitch them putting Bitcoin into their retirement savings?
Great question. Never too early, never too late to get involved. And in fact, so when we first started this in 2016, we just did a press release. And it was like, well, if a tree falls in the woods, nobody's there to hear it, didn't make a sound. And our first group of people were, I call them my engine nerds. Retirees from NASA, IBM, Intel. These guys were on the cutting edge of always looking for the newest technology, and we've grown from there. And yes, while our sweet spot is probably 35 to 55 as far as our platform, we have plenty of people in their 20s, and in fact, starting earlier is the most powerful thing you can do. Every year, once you start making income, you have the ability to put up to, right now it's $7,500 for us, $8,000 for the older folks over 50. Aside with the government gives you the benefit of lowering your tax bill or getting tax-free growth or tax-deferred growth. And the government never gives us any tools like that. You take advantage of these things. A lot of folks will stick with their 401k, or maybe a lot of companies aren't even offering that anymore. That's part of the pinch that they're feeling around they have to tighten the belt, the 401k matches go down, etc. So you got to empower yourself. And take that time and put it aside. It's also really nice because you're putting in a retirement account that you're not going to touch for 30, 40 years. That's a healthy investment strategy. You put your $6,000 or $7,000 every year away. Maybe you don't put it all in crypto. We've got 75 different coins available on our platform. If you want some of the memes, or if you want ETH, or Solana is one of my favorite this year. Link's been really strong this year as well. Ondo, I just added Ondo in just recently. I like that one.
That's a BlackRock coin, so that's going to be here for a while.
Yeah. Oh, you know that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
They're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
So that's the diversification that you can do. And yeah, getting in early, but it's also never too late. I mean, there's a lot of folks that are healthy in their retirement, but is their retirement going to outlast them? Or are they going to outlast their retirement? We're living longer than ever before. So there's a lot of folks that are saying, okay, I've got my index funds, I've got my fixed income, I've got my gold or my hedge, but I need some growth. And crypto is a very alluring prospect for them on that front. So yeah, never too early, never too late. My daughter's actually, she's 11 now, and she's done some, we were in LA, so she's done some commercials. Every dollar she's ever earned goes to her Roth IRA.
Wow.
Yeah, to build her college savings. But you know, these younger kids, I don't know if they want to go to college, and I don't blame them. You know, I paid my dues, did my 4 years, University of Colorado Boulder. Great, I had fun. Don't get me wrong, but man, these student loan bills, I mean, they're crazy.
Out of control. It's out of control. So I want to track back. So when it comes to, let's say, so you've been through a bear market and things like that.
A few of them now. So let's just think back a couple, maybe last month, how people was freaking out when the stock market was going down. Yeah.
Everybody's going like, oh, look at my 401k, look at this, look at that. So how do you handle it in bear markets or huge drawdowns when your customers are looking at their IRA and they're like, are you getting a lot of phone calls? Are people worried? How do you handle that?
A lot of folks come in with a long-term mentality. They're looking at 7 to 10 year with their retirements. So we don't get a lot of panic. We make sure we educate them on the fact that we've got the intestinal fortitude because we've been through it.
Yes.
So, a 20% drop in Bitcoin, seen it plenty of times. I do have some gray hairs from it. It does stress you out, but I've seen it. But then you also see the 20 or 30% up days. I don't think we're going to have that big of swings. I think this thing's starting to stabilize a little bit, but you get into price discovery and then things get crazy. So, yeah, you have to make sure that the client's prepared and they are coming in with a long term. This is not a get rich quick scheme. And it really, none of crypto should be. Yeah, I get it. I hear sometimes, wish I would have grabbed Shiba at this moment in time, or maybe grab some of that Trump coin before the inauguration. But those are a dime a dozen, and they're very hard to time. It's pick the consistent ones that you're looking for, that you believe in. Do your research on the project, because I think that helps vindicate you. XRP's been rough. Been rough to be an XRP holder since back when it got completely banished, then when it came back, and it's had its ebbs and flows. So do your research, understand the utility of the token that you're investing in, and have that long-term mindset is most important.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been part of the XRP army, as they like to call them, since.
Are you going to the XRP conference after this?
I'm thinking about it.
It's tomorrow, right?
I'm thinking about it. I think I might stay. I don't have a return ticket, so I'm still trying to.
I like that.
Get
one way, this way. I like that.
Flows going around. But back to the coins, the different coins that you have on your platform. How do you handle coins that may not ever come back? Like coins that have went up and then they go down and then they're just.
Yeah, I mean, Litecoin's a great example. What happened there? I remember when I was on CNBC in 2017, I was really enthusiastic about Litecoin because I felt like it could have been the monetization of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's your gold you put in your safe. Litecoin would have been something that you use to shop with. There's 4 times as many of them, the mining's, but some projects that just happens, right? And so it's making sure you're diversifying yourself. I wouldn't put all of my chips for stocks into one penny stock and counting on it going. You got to have some blue chips. You got to have a nice little blend that you put together. I would say we have we're up to 200,000 users. We have about 14 billion with a B in assets under custody. 60% of that is Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then then you get some of the larger alts, and then you get a little sliver of the smaller alts. But if one of those takes a run and goes to the moon and 1000x, having a little bit of it isn't silly either. Even if it's $100 of something that you believe in. I usually buy in $100 to $200 increments whenever I do anything. And then if it's starting to do good for me, okay, I'll add a little bit more to it. It's kind of like my partner and CEO used to say, because we build a lot of projects and you're building things on your roadmap as a business, it's like you're walking and throwing seeds, and then as you're walking, you see the ones that are germinating, and those are the ones that you give a little bit more water and attention to. And that's how I do my investment strategy.
Exactly. So I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have a couple more questions. So when it comes to, can you use it like an exchange? Because I'm not going to mention another similar platform, but you can swap, so to say. So can you swap at any moment? Just go on the platform, swap, say Shiba. Like say you have Shiba, you're like, I don't want this anymore. I want Bitcoin. A lot of people this cycle, and I say that because this cycle, everybody that I've talked to, even in my community, I have a pretty large community. A lot of people are starting to become Bitcoin only. Yeah. Because of this cycle.
There's a lot of folks that I trade alts to stack Bit.
So that's my whole strategy right there. So I'm Bitcoin, I'm saving in Bitcoin. I haven't started an IRA in Bitcoin. I've just been saving on my own and doing it like that. I'll trade, invest in other things, but it's coming back home. That's what I like to say. It's coming back
home. That's your long-term strategy is Bitcoin hodler. So it's just like any other platform you would see out there. You're able to buy, sell, swap at any time. Okay. But what you're doing is you're doing it inside of a tax-deferred setting. So a lot of folks don't realize this. If you swap from ETH to Bitcoin, that's a taxable event. And a lot of folks are like, oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is 100% a taxable event. And so being able to do that in a tax-deferred or tax-free setting, you can swap all day long. Wow. And then we're just launching. I was supposed to do it this week, but we're doing some final checks on the security. We're bringing staking back, staking 2.0 to our platform. So you'll be able to make yield up to 7% on 5 different coins, Cardano, Avalanche, Polkadot, Solana, and Ethereum. Okay. So, and all that happens, and those also, you make yield. That's interest. You have to pay tax on that. I mean, the government gets us every way we're coming, even after we're dead. So these tools are just beautiful ways to not only build a retirement, but also if you don't end up using it, you can hand it down. You put a beneficiary on it. It's an inherited IRA when you pass, and they can continue to use that tax-deferred setting.
Okay. So everybody that I've talked to, I'll give you one last question. You gave your Bitcoin price prediction for this cycle. Where do you see Bitcoin? Because my thesis is we're going to start seeing the real, like we're putting lipstick on a pig, like you said a little bit earlier. We're putting, you know, tape on a boat that's sinking with the cracks. I think next decade, once we really start getting into those Social Security running out, things like that, I think that is when Bitcoin, a supply shock we talked about earlier. Where do you see Bitcoin, the time frame of $1 million Bitcoin?
Within the next 10 years, for sure. Within the next 10 years, it really will come down, but it's going to be a bumpy road. It's not like it's not going to be a straight linear curve to get there. There's going to be, if we hit 180, we might FOMO to 200, but then we're going to pull back to 150, and everybody's going to say we're dead again, right? It's, I mean, how many times have we been dead, and we have to come back and be like, I'm back? There will be those cycles will keep happening. We're about to hit peak post-halving on this one. It's about 550 days post-halving. Is it so about September, October? So that's where we'll start to see peak mania, and then we're going to cool off again, and it's going to be there will be bear markets. It'll be cool again. I think a little bit less of a self-inflicted bear like what we did in the last cycle, because I think we've learned a lot of lessons as a community and as an industry.
Exactly.
So then you've got one more cycle, 2032 would probably be right around there. Because at that point, by then, 7.5 years from now, miners are going to be competing for less than one Bitcoin at that point. We started at 50, but now we're down to less than one. That's where you're going to see that supply shock really kick in, especially if you add in all this pent-up demand and ongoing demand from foreign nations, et cetera. And like you said, fiat currencies might start to fail. Maybe not the dollar, but other currencies might start to have real bad currency. And especially since we're fighting with each other in currency wars right now, it's a perfect storm for us to get there in an accelerated fashion. So maybe I'd say, don't quote me for sure, but 7 years.
7 years?
7 years. I'll be 47.
Okay.
I'll be 47.
So we'll see. We'll hold you to it. If it's on the internet,
it's forever. It's forever.
Yeah. So tell the community where they can find you and
absolutely.
Just everything that you can run down really quick.
So something we're really proud of is that we're real crypto, real people. So unlike a lot of exchanges where you just log in and you got to figure it out for yourself, you can go to bitcoinira.com. You can set up an account in a matter of minutes, but retirements are not one size fits all. So there's contributions, rollovers, transfers, pensions, 403bs. We have an elite team of executives that have been with me for over a decade now. You can call them at 877-936-7175. In about 90 seconds, you'll be talking to a real person about your crypto retirement strategy.
There you have it. Bitcoin IRA. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, thanks.
Like I said, the logistics were kind of messed up, but I appreciate the patience. The team was amazing.
Doesn't matter to me, man. As long as we get a chance. And thanks for listening today, folks.